Hello everybody, welcome back to wolfeei. Today we've got a very fun topic on our hands. It's a question that I saw asked, I think in the MCC Discord or somewhere on the Reddit or something. Is it possible now to balance a duo of FireBreathMan and Purpled, who I think are currently the statistical best two players in the event? We can hypothesize first before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video and say that the answer is probably. Alright, before we actually get into the video, I do have some things I do want to address. First of all, here's my funny Twitter post. Obviously, I was wrong. The third mob was not Zombie Mark, it was actually a penguin. Next up, I saw some people comment on my content, actually, on this channel, and say that I ramble on for too long, which is correct, and that I talk about videos that shouldn't be videos. And my comment on that is yes and no, because we're currently in a drought when it comes to MCC content, and actually I should have gone to this tab. We're currently in a little bit of a drought when it comes to MCC content or MCC news. Usually I try to cover news and then additionally try to make a video for fun about a topic that I think could be fun to talk about or discuss about. Currently there's not much news coming out. When there is news, I try to cover it. But in the meantime, I'm trying to fill a void in the Minecraft event space, at least discussion-wise, mainly about MCC, by providing topics that I've either already previously discussed or topics that I just come up with, and maybe they coincidentally overlap with something I've already talked about months ago. But yeah, things like QSMP, crossover, what if every hermit joined the event, who's the best Minecraft event player, these are all just things I like talking about. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, but I just try to provide content. You know, it's obviously not super high effort, but my knowledge about Minecraft event hosting and playing a bunch, I think comes into play here to hypothesize on how things would work. I think it's fun, but some people don't enjoy it, and that's fine. Alright, moving on. So, when talking about the topic of can FireBreathMan and Purpled be a balanced duo in MCC, the simple answer is yes, because there's a wide array of players across the history of MCC that you could pair them with, and there's a wide array of players that you could pair the other teams with together to even make that duo underpowered. However, we're not going to play by the rules of, let's throw FireBreathMan and Purpled with Lily Pichu and Xbox Andy and call it a day. Obviously, that's not a fair way of doing this, because we want to try this to make this as realistic as possible, I guess. And in order to do that, we're going to try to use make a roster of 10 teams of 4 players of people who regularly play in recent MCC. Now, I made an entire tier list of this where I separated people into little categories. However, I cannot show you that because I already made teams on that tier list, and if I show the tier list, there's not really an easy way for me to hide the teams before I reveal them to you. So I will make an attempt now to not reveal. Okay, there we go. First, to start with this concept, obviously there has to be a team of Purpled and FireBreathMan. Now you've got Purpled, Shane, Gucky, and Michaela. I tried to look statistically at recurring players who typically rank a little bit lower, and I saw Gucky and Michaela and thought that would be a fun deal, and at least with Shane I know that they would be fantastic teammates, and I think Purpled's teamed with Gucky already. I think Michaela's generally just a really fun teammate to have. So this should be a very cool team. And, you know, it's not just me going, hey, here are statistically the 2 worst players, which I don't think Gucky and Michaela are, but it's not as if I throw the 2 statistical worst players on this team and call it a day. We're trying to actually put effort into this and make a normal-looking MCC roster, or at least relatively normal. Obviously, this is going to be a strong roster because you've got the 2 best statistical players on the same team. But an attempt at a normal-looking roster, and yeah, here we go. Next up, here's a little bit of insight on how these go. Also, I have no clue if this is actually balanced. Obviously, I'm not using a balancing sheet. I don't really know how MCC, or how like teams like Purple Shane, or even how Fruit Ninja really works out in MCC, because it's very team-focused. But I try to balance it out by putting one typical first or top player, sorry, who would get top 10, plus someone who is confidently a second place player on teams usually, and then probably plus like someone who places in the middle, and then someone who places lower, and try to make it somewhat balanced. Obviously, it's very tough. First team, Jojo, Owen, Toby, and Jack Manifold. I think it's a really funny team. I think this could be a very realistic team. It does feel like something that might have already happened, but it also doesn't. I think it's mainly because of Owen, because I think Owen hasn't teamed with Toby yet, or maybe he has. But I think that's, either way, something that should happen. And then Jack Manifold is there as well. Jack, a little bit of a refresher when it comes to MCC teams nowadays, because he plays, but he doesn't play that much. So yeah, I like it. Next up, return of Puns and Joel. I thought it was a cool duo, I think it's fun to run it back. You give him Ollie and you give him Amy. Amy, a little bit of an outlier. I think Amy's teams typically look a little bit different, but I think this would be a nice fit. I think Amy, Ollie, and Joel at least would be a very fun trio. And I think Puns slots in pretty decently on this team as well. This would be pretty strong. Obviously, Puns Joel is already confident 2 top 15 players in my eyes at least. And then Ollie sneaks in at a potential top half. Maybe this roster, if it's a little on the stronger side, would be a confident top 25. And then Amy also top 30 candidate, I think. Very strong. Next up, Dave, Shadoon, Scott, and False. Very fun team. The reasoning behind this, for me, it just made sense. I don't remember exactly why. In my mind, Dave, Shadoon seems like a duo that will probably end up happening because Twitch rivals, I guess. I don't really know if they know each other. I feel like Scott and Dave is a pretty fun duo. I would like to see Scott and Shadoon on the same team as well to see how that would work out. And I put False there because False recently teamed with Dave, I think once or twice. False and Shadoon were both on a team with me in Minecraft 2. So that would be a fun little throwback, at least for me. I think that'd be pretty silly. And then Scott fits anywhere because it's his event. So that's the Lime team. Next up, Green. You got Fruit Phil, Becky, and Scar. I think Fruit Phil's a really cool duo. I really liked it last time. I think they ended up winning. I think Becky with Phil is a good pairing. I think confirmed already. I think Becky and Fruit ended up being on the same team recently as well. I don't remember exactly what the team looked like, but I recall that being a pair on a team. And I think Scar works really nicely. Scar and Phil, I don't remember if they've teamed before. Scar and Becky are both on the Pirates SMP, and I think Scar and Fruit sounds like a really fun duo. So there you go. That's that team. Next up, Cyan. Here's Sapnap Hannah back at it again. I know Hannah at least was very vocal that she wanted to run it back with Sapnap multiple times, probably until they managed to, get a win. So who knows if that will happen again. Ollie Gamers on the team. Initially, I wanted to do Sapnap, Shadoon, and Ollie run that back, but I ended up not choosing to do that because I feel like that would be a little bit too repetitive as it just happened and won. And then I put Sylvie here. Sylvie, Sapnap, Hannah, at least is a very solid trio in my eyes. And Sylvie and Ollie probably get along pretty well as well. Right, moving on. Aqua Team, typical Ant Frost 5-up duo. I don't know how long it's been, but I feel like Ant and 5-up have to be on the same team sometime soon again. It's just such a classic duo that I think, should happen again to see like how well they will do nowadays. Velvet there slots in perfectly, and I think Gem makes a lot of sense. I think instead of Velvet, putting H was a winning team or a dodgeball team, I think. I don't remember exactly when, which is nuts, by the way, that was fair at some point. Anyways, yeah, I think this would be super cool. Moving on. Blue team, speaking of H-Bomb, you got H, Callum, Sparkles, and Impulse. Very strong team, very scary looking team, but a very fun team as well. H and Callum, I think, have teamed maybe before. I don't know if they've teamed recently. Impulse adds to the list of hermits for H-Bomb. I don't know if they've teamed before as well. I think I might have already said that or asked that before, if they've teamed before. Either way, just another hermit to put with H-Bomb. If they've teamed or not doesn't really matter. And then Sparkles, Sparkles is Sparkles. Sparkles works anywhere. He's Captain Sparkles. Of course, anyone would love to team with Captain Sparkles. Anyways, moving on. Purple team. Purple team, you got Illumina, Harvey, Shelby, and Kara. It's just a really cool team. I'm not going to lie. This is just a sick team. I think Illumina Harvey's been a very highly requested duo for a little while. I was tempted to put Elena and Shelby here, but I think, if I remember correctly, that would have been very similar to the Illumina Phil team. I don't remember exactly. Either way, Kara fits here very well, in my opinion at least, and yeah, very cool team. I don't know how balanced it is, because I don't really know how strong Illumina Harvey actually is as a duo now, because Harvey has had a little bit of a lower season, I think, in terms of MCC. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't really remember. But very cool team regardless. And then finally, you have to throw in a little bit of a spicy, at least player, to make it a normal MCC. You got Pete, Rambo, Sneeg, and Charlie Slapsicle. Pete Rambo, I think, has been requested. I could be wrong. Sorry, I'm a little bit stuffy. Rambo Sneeg is a classic duo. They have a podcast together, I think. And then Pete and Sneeg, I don't know if they've teamed in MCC before, but I know they've teamed in, I think it was MCL. And I think they're actually pretty good friends, I think. They've known each other for a while, I think. I could be wrong. And then Charlie Slapsicle is just hilarious. He's a little bit of a curveball player to throw onto, or into the mix for an MCC to make, you know, for an interesting final reveal. Just a fun returning player, and I think overall would just be a hilarious and insanely cool team. Anyways, what do you think of this? Do you think Purple and Shane is balanced? I think it could be. However, you cannot ignore that a Purple Shane duo is wild. I think this roster might still not even be strong enough to balance it out, but I could also be misinterpreting how strong a team like that even is, because MCC is just so team-based nowadays. That some good teamwork on a more all-rounded team could possibly just outshine the competition. Obviously, this will still very heavily depend on the game roster that would be in this event. I don't really know how I would determine what games would be in, because obviously, depending on what the games are, the scores could vary like a crazy amount. Either way, thank you for watching. I'm going to stop rambling, as that was a criticism from before. I'm just going to stop rambling. Thank you for watching. These are the teams. Let me know what you think. Goodbye.